if there's one fight, and this isn't like trying to find out who your favorite fighter is or whatever, but if there was one moment, it might be early on in your career or whatever, what was one fight that you were involved with where you kind of just had to pinch yourself? Like, whether it was just like it was an incredible fight or whether it was your first ever, I guess, UFC card and you're like, I can't believe I'm here, or like if there was one
Yeah.
fight that you kind of like go, you know what, that one's always going to stick in my memory. And as I said, I don't care who the fighter is, but like obviously which fight it was. Yeah, what fight does it for you?
Man, that's a great question. And that's a hard one too, because there's so many of them. I remember, and I'm just going to give an example because this is where I really started to make it a point. Was my dad? I was cornering a fight at the MGM Grand, and my dad had said to me, my dad was a high level athlete, and he said, "Hey, do you ever just take a moment and take it all in?" And I'm like, no, like I'm just so like tunnel vision, like this is the job at hand, and this is that. And he's like, hey, when you get a second and you get on that canvas or you get on that apron and you're up there, he's like, take a look around and take a second because those are the things you're actually going to remember the most. And it was probably like my fourth or fifth UFC I cornered. Um, and he said that, and I remember like taking it to heart. And it was at the MGM where I was born and raised in Las Vegas, and sure as shit, man, I got on that apron and I'm like looking around and I took it all in, and I made it a point to do that for every fight now. Like I get up there and take a deep breath and I kind of look around and see the crowd, and hopefully if you have a crowd, even when we don't, I still do it. But I would say the one that really stood out to me was it was almost a Mike Tyson moment. And the closest I've ever been to it was when Francis fought JDS. And walking out with Francis, he was playing Drake, God's Plan. We're in Minneapolis, and it is absolutely packed in there. But the energy was different, Dennis. It was ominous, but it was exciting. And I like to stay a little bit further in the back. I like to kind of, I guess, see everything as we go. And man, I'll tell you what, that the emotional charge of that room was so electric. I've never really been a part of something that dynamic. Watching Francis walk out was like, seeing a great white shark just kind of cruising, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's gonna go. I was like, oh shit, I'm front row to a fucking murder right now. This is gonna be crazy, So that was something else, man. And then any fight that has to do with Dan Ige, I'll tell you what, man, his energy, what he brings to the table, there's nothing like it. The kid in the room, you see in the room, he's very loving in a sense. Like he likes to take care of his training partners. But I'll tell you what, man, when it's time to fight, there's something about that kid that's different, man. He flips a switch and he's gonna take somebody's head off.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess the biggest buzz for me was I think it was 189. Talking about MGM Grand, I was over in Vegas, and it was when Chad Mendes stepped up for the Conor McGregor fight. And the same thing,
Yep.
I just feel like I don't even remember who was on that card apart from the Conor McGregor show, right? So, but
Right.
the energy not only of the fight, of the weigh-ins, of everything, it was that whole week. I remember walking through the MGM Grand and seeing those Irish climbing the pylons in the middle of the casino and like security trying to rip them down. And I was just like, this is insane. Absolutely
Yeah.
insane, right? So that was
Yeah.
probably the one time where I kind of had to pinch myself and just well, I guess I can't believe I'm in Vegas. Like, even though, I've been
Yeah.
over to Vegas multiple times, but like that was the one time I'm like, I can't even believe I'm here. Like it's,
I, it's insane, and I remember kind of coming up in the sport and almost fantasizing or visualizing that walk, and walking out with the fighter, and running through your game plan through your head and how the scenario is going to play out. And I remember being in those stands and kind of seeing that. And if I didn't appreciate every time that I had the opportunity to walk out, now, I mean, I don't know how many I've had, 300 of them, and I would be doing myself a disservice, not appreciating every time. And there's not a moment that goes by when you get in that in those curtains and you're about to go. And obviously, I'm not the one going out fighting, but the feel of going out to battle with your fighter, there's nothing like it. And I'm adrenaline junkie for it. I love every moment of it. I pinch myself every time, and I tell myself, man, hey, one day this is all going to go away. So appreciate every moment of it. It's about a 30-second walk and about a minute on the cage, but that minute 30 seconds is unbelievable. That's for sure.
See, and I kind of had a moment kind of like that, and that was the last Melbourne card, right? So it was Izzy versus Robert Whittaker for the title, biggest crowd ever. 2 days before that event, I get a call from the UFC asking if I was available to shoot because I was down there on a shooting project. Right. And I actually had box seats to that event. Right. So I had a couple of friends with me and I had a box seat and I was like, damn, I took it. So I ended up working that event and it was just a buzz. And like, I didn't even get to see any of the fights because I pretty much spent the whole time backstage doing where the guys were warming up and stuff. The only time I actually walked out to the cage was behind Robert Whittaker. So I was in his corner doing the over the shoulder shot, right?
Yeah.
And same thing. I was like, I kind of go, I wish I was there and got to see the fights, especially because I had friends in the box seats and stuff. But like that moment alone was just amazing, right? Like it was just amazing.
But you were a part of it. You were a part of the whole thing, you know? And that's the difference. Is like, you might have not watched the capacity of which you would have been, but you would give up any box seat in the world just to know that you had your fingerprints on that card and you were a part of the whole thing.
And then when they use that footage as well for the thrill and agony and things like that, and I'm like, there's my shot. And it is. You've kind of got that pulse, right? And I'm like,
yes.
I mean, obviously it was a hard one because I was in Robert's corner, so I was stuck to his family for the thrill and agony,
right? And
obviously having to deal with the wife, seeing Rob get knocked out was a bit tough. It was really, but it was an experience that I'll always remember and hopefully get to do again at some stage. I don't know. As I said, like I got the call, I was like, boom! I didn't even think about it. It was 7 a.m. in the morning.
Oh man!
We went out the night before. I had a few drinks. So like to begin with, I was kind of like, is someone like playing a prank on me? Like I didn't actually realize that it was real, until I had someone from the UFC call up and they're like, no, send in your photo. We need to get your credentials and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Right.
Man.